नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवति उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 22, Maharaj Prithu's meeting with the four Kumaras. Text number 32 onwards. So Sanat Kumar is further speaking to Maharaj Prithu. Natah parataro loke punsa swartha vyatikramaha yadhyanyasya preyastvam atmanah swaya vyatikramat. There is no stronger obstruction to one's self-interest than thinking other subject matters to be more pleasing than one's self-realization. Human life is especially meant for self-realization. Self refers to the super self and the individual self, the supreme personality of Godhead and the living entity. When, however, one becomes more interested in the body and the bodily sense gratification, he creates for himself obstructions on the path of self-realization. By the influence of Maya, one becomes more interested in sense gratification, which is prohibited in this world for those interested in self-realization. Instead of becoming interested in sense gratification, one should divert his activities to satisfy the senses of the Supreme Soul. Anything performed contrary to this principle is certainly against one's self-interest. So self-interest is actually the interest of the soul, the real purpose of the soul, the real goal of the soul. But when we think of ourselves as a body, the self then becomes the interest of the body. Body means the senses. So the self-interest becomes enjoying the senses. This is my interest. And this is what is going on all over the world. Even in human form, human beings, 99.9% people are after this kind of life, this kind of interest. And lower than human beings, everybody is. It's just I, me, and mine. Or as I had said earlier, it's the ICICI Bank. I see, and again, I see what? I. That's it. And that I is not the soul I, it's a body I. I only see my body. If anything is giving pleasure to my body, and my mind, I like it, I do it. I don't care what others think. Jindagi na milegi dobara. This is the philosophy. But this is not exactly what the human body is for. This is what Prahlad Maharaj says in his teachings. Punah punah charvanana. Chewing the chewed. Again and again, same senses, similar body, whatever material body, maybe different species of life, but body is same, made of 5 elements, 5 gross, 3 subtle, that's it. And the same senses we've been trying to gratify, trying to fulfill their desires, since times immemorial, and cannot do that. Can't do that. Only way is if we please the master of these senses, Rishikesha, then not only the soul is pleased, but the senses and the mind is automatically pleased. Automatically, they're happy. But this equation, this formula, one has to learn. But right now, what everybody is trying to do is please the senses, gratify the senses, and losing out on the self-interest. And when the self-interest is not there, the senses can never, 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 never be pleased. That's for sure. We can just write it down on the walls everywhere and make sure we understand this point. Nobody in the whole universe, previously, now, or in the future, who was trying to satisfy his senses materially can ever do that. Nobody. Hiranyakashipu. We'll read about him later. He was the king of the whole universe. He had conquered the whole universe, not just one country, not just one community, whole universe. We can't even imagine that. Up to Brahmaloka. He didn't go conquer Brahmaloka because he had prayed to Brahmaji for benedictions. So out of respect for Brahmaji, he didn't go up to Brahmaloka. But he didn't go and conquer Brahmaloka. But up to Brahmaloka, everything was in his control. Demigods were in his control. All the demigods, obviously, except Shivji. Shivji is in different category. And Brahmaji. Narad Muni also was in his control. Of course, Narad Muni was playing the part, but everybody was doing whatever he wanted, except one person. That little bitty 5-year-old boy was not listening to him. And this made him angry. How can anybody rebel against me? How can anybody defy my orders? So the senses can never be enjoyed, never be gratified completely. On the same time, the devotees who are engaged in the service of the Lord, they're always happy. There's nothing to worry about, nothing to bother, nothing. They just don't want anything. Even if Krishna wants to give them, they don't want anything. Prahlad Maharaj himself, after Lord Nrsimhadev killed his father, Lord Nrsimhadev asked me for some benediction. He said, no, I don't want anything. Ask me something. Prahlad Maharaj was like, I'm not a businessman. I didn't do devotion service to ask you for something. I don't want anything. Prahlad Maharaj, 5-year-old boy. How long we think he could have done devotion service? 5 years? 4 years? 3 years? Hiranyakashipu did tapasya for 100 celestial years, 36,500 years. And he wanted lots of benedictions from Brahmaji. Up to the point of make me immortal. Prahlad Maharaj did his devotion service, please the Lord. Lord is asking him for take some benedictions. He said, I don't want any. I'm fully happy. He didn't even ask for give me immortality. He didn't care. He didn't bother. That is a real formula. Otherwise, no way we can please the senses. And pleasing the senses for those who want to make progress spiritually is a big obstruction. And that is when Krishna intervenes and he removes the obstruction. So sometimes he can remove by giving instructions, sometimes he can remove by frustrating us. So either way, whichever way we learn our lesson, he will do it. Arthendriyartha vidhyanam sarvartha pahavano nirnam Bhranshito jnana vijnana yena vishati mukhyatam. For human society, constantly thinking of how to earn money and apply it for sense gratification brings about the destruction of everyone's interests. When one becomes devoid of knowledge and devotional service, he entered into species of life like those of trees and stones. Jnana or knowledge means to understand one's constitutional position, and Vijnana refers to practical application of that knowledge in life. In the human form of life, one should come to the position of Jnana and Vijnana. But despite this great opportunity, if one does not develop knowledge and practical application of knowledge through the help of a spiritual master and the Shastras, in other words, if one misuses this opportunity, then in next life he is sure to be born in a species of non-moving living entities. Wow. So if we don't understand and don't apply it, means we we are going to take birth as and the shloka says species of like those are trees and stones. So stones also have life. It's not that stones are without life, without soul. So non-moving living entities include hills, mountains, trees, plants, etc. So hills and mountains, they also have soul. So if we don't use this human body properly, we can have plenty of opportunity to take birth in 800,000 species if we don't use the 400,000 species properly, or 8 million species, sorry. This stage of life is called punyatam or mukhyatam, namely making all activities zero. Philosophers who support stopping all activities are called shunyavadi. By nature's own way, or our activities are to be gradually diverted to devotion service. But there are philosophers who, instead of purifying their activities, try to make everything zero or void of all activities. This lack of activity is represented by the trees and the hills. This is a kind of punishment inflicted by the laws of nature. If we do not properly execute our mission of life in self realization, nature's punishment will render us inactive by putting us in the form of trees and hills. Therefore, activities directed towards sense gratification are condemned herein. One who is constantly thinking of activities to earn money and gratify the senses is following a path which is suicidal. Factually, all human society is following this path. Some way or other, people are determined to earn money or get money by begging, borrowing, or stealing and applying that for sense gratification. Such a civilization is the greatest obstacle in the path of self realization. And this has become the norm these days. the the way they show advertisements, commercials on the TV or on the net, it makes you feel this is what marketing is. Even if they're advertising for some kind of cloth or some kind of dress, and they advertise it so in such a way that people feel if I don't have this dress or if I don't have this shirt or jeans, my life is incomplete. It's worthless. And these days, the kind of jeans the kids wear, it's all torn up. I don't know what kind of fun they get, but this is the fashion. And they'll fight with parents, they'll fight with the brothers or sisters. I want that pair of jeans, no matter how expensive it is. As if the whole life depends on that. This is what marketing people do. They try to understand the psychology of the buyers and they advertise it in that way. And once the person gets that cloth, that jeans, suppose, I mean, what is going to happen? Is he or she is going to develop four hands after that and straight away go to Vaikuntha Loka? No, nothing. Want to wear it for some time, then get bored, then move on to another thing, and then another thing, another thing. And for to fulfill all these desires, one need money. If either we make money or we beg, borrow, or steal, is this the life all about? People don't understand this. Jeans is just one example. It could be a car, it could be a house, it could be a member of opposite sex, or it could be a big business, big company I want to acquire. What are you going to do after acquiring it? Oh, I'll make more money. And then what are you going to do? I'll enjoy. Well, you can enjoy right now, whatever money you have. No, then I'll enjoy more. Actually, it's all ramblings of the mind, nothing else. But this is what is going on. And Shastras have spoken about it since the beginning of time. That this is what happens and this is what will happen. न कुर्यात् कर्हि चित्तसंगम तमस तीव्रम तितीरिषु धर्मार्थ काम मोक्षाणाम यदति यद्यन्त विघातकम. Those who strongly desire to cross the ocean of nescience must not associate with the modes of ignorance, for hedonistic activities are the greatest obstructions to realizations of religious principles, economic development, regulated sense gratification, and at last liberation. The four principles of life allow one to live according to religious principles, to earn money according to one's position in society, to allow the senses to enjoy the sense objects according to regulations, and to progress along the path of liberation from this material attachment. So there is dharma, artha, kam. Kam is one of the purusharth. But if we follow properly dharma and then make money according to dharma, according to religious principles, or principles mentioned in the scriptures, not by stealing, not by cheating others. So kam is mentioned in the scriptures, but in a proper way, in a scriptural way, according to regulation. That's what Prabhupada says, and then one can make progress towards moksha. As long as the body is there, it's not possible to be completely free from all these material interests. It is not, however, recommended that one act only for sense gratification and earn money for that purpose only, sacrificing all religious principles. At the present moment, human civilization does not care for religious principles. It is therefore greatly interested in economic development without religious principles. For instance, in a slaughterhouse, the butchers certainly get money easily, but such business is not based on religious principles. Similarly, there are many nightclubs for sense gratification and brothels for sex. Sex, of course, is allowed in married life, but prostitution is prohibited because all our activities are ultimately aimed at liberation, at freedom from the clutches of material existence. Similarly, although the government may license liquor shops, this does not mean that liquor shops should be opened unrestrictedly and illicit liquor smuggled. Licensing is meant for restricting. No one has to take a license for sugar, wheat, or milk because there is no need to restrict these things. In other words, it is advised that one not act in a way that will obstruct the regular process of advancement in spiritual life and liberation. That is why in the previous, some verses back, when it was said about the qualities of a devotee or qualities of a person who is making advancement in spiritual life, so one quality was simple. He's simple. He lives very simple life. So all these so-called engagements and people running crazily to make money, to enjoy the sense of which by Krishna's arrangement everything is stopped now. All the bars are closed, liquor shops are open, but bars are closed, restaurants are closed, all these clubs are closed. So Krishna has his own way of making people understand, but still people are not listening. At least for some time, their sinful activities stopped to certain extent, not completely, but to certain extent they are stopped. In other words, it is advised that one not act in a way that will obstruct the regular process of advancement in spiritual life and liberation. The Vedic process of sense gratification is therefore planned in such a way that one can economically develop and enjoy sense gratification and yet ultimately attain liberation. Vedic civilization offers us all knowledge in the Shastras, and if we live a regulated life under the direction of the Shastras and Guru, all our material desires will be fulfilled. At the same time, we will be able to go forward to liberation. So Vedic civilization or Vedic knowledge or scriptural injunctions are there for everybody. It's not just, only there for or sadhus, or you have to leave everything and go to Himalayas. No, it's for everybody. It's for grahasthas also. How to make progress. So if we follow it properly, we can definitely make progress. And ultimately, as Prabhupada said, go forward to liberation. But we have to try to live properly, responsibly. Not khao piyo jiyo wali life. तत्रापि मोक्ष एवार्थः आत्यन्तिकत्येष्यते त्रयवर्ग्यो अर्थो यतो नित्यं कृतान्त अभ्यासंयुतः.
सॉरी प्रभु, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है.
आवाज नहीं आ रही? सब ऑन तो है.
No. Suddenly it's just stopped.
नहीं यार, बता आवाज तो
अभी आ रही है.
I can also hear.
Yes, I can also hear.
Archana Mata, please check your.
Log out and log in again.
5 minute बचे हैं. Okay, text 35.
Some problem.
Out of the four principles, namely religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation has to be taken very seriously. The other three are subject to destruction by stringent laws of nature, death. So with death will take away everything, whatever dharma we had done. Dharma means varnashram dharma, whatever we followed, economic development, artha and kama, everything will be destroyed. Moksha or liberation has to be taken very seriously, even at the sacrifice of the other three items. As advised by Sutta Goswami in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, religious principles are not based on the success in economic development. Because we are very attached to sense gratification, we go to God, to the temple or churches for some economic reasons. Then again, economic development does not mean sense gratification. Everything should be adjusted in such a way that we attain liberation. Therefore, in this verse, liberation, moksha, is stressed. The other three items are material and therefore subject to destruction. Even if somehow we accumulate a great bank balance in this life and possess many material things, everything will be finished with death. So even Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos or whoever, the richest people, they cannot transfer the money in their account in the next life. Next life, they have to start from scratch. Of course, whatever pious activities or sinful activities they do this life, they take it with them. The karma reactions will go with them. But bank balance, no. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that death is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who ultimately takes away everything acquired by the materialistic person. Foolishly, we do not care for this. Foolishly, we are not afraid of death, nor do we consider that death will take away everything acquired by the process of dharma, artha, and kama. By dharma or pious activities, we may be elevated to the heavenly planets, but this does not mean freedom from the clutches of birth, death, old age, and disease. The purport is that we can sacrifice our interest in Traivargya, means religious principles, economic development, and sense gratification, but we cannot sacrifice the cause of liberation. Regarding liberation, it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti. Liberation means that after giving up this body, one does not have to accept another material body. To the impersonalist, liberation means merging into the existence of impersonal Brahman. But factually, this is not moksha, because one has to again fall down into this material world from that impersonal position. One should therefore seek the shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and engage in his devotional service. That is real liberation. The conclusion is that we should not stress pious activities, economic development, and sense gratification, but should concern ourselves with approaching Lord Vishnu in his spiritual planets, of which the topmost is Golok Vrindavan, where Lord Krishna lives. Therefore, this Krishna consciousness movement is the greatest gift for persons who are actually desiring liberation. So liberation, moksha, or ultimate liberation, which is the service of the Lord, that is the aim of life. The rest, everything will be destroyed. The body will be destroyed, so what to speak of sense gratification? And even if we enjoy, and apparently we enjoy actually. Suppose somebody is addicted to smoking. Oh, he smokes this kind of cigarette and that kind of cigarette, or bidi and cigar and Cuban cigar. I'm told Cuban cigars are the best cigars. But then what? Either he will have some lung cancer or some other form of disease, or then what? Even if somebody smoked cigars throughout his life and he didn't develop lung cancer, what did he gain? Nothing. Even in America, this Marlboro cigarette is very famous. And the person who used to advertise Marlboro cigarettes, he was just one of the actors, famous actors. And later on, what happened? Towards the last phase of his life, he could not breathe properly. He had to always carry that oxygen cylinder with him to breathe. What did he gain? Nothing. Those who like to drink, the different types of alcohols, liquors everywhere, so many different kinds. So what happens? Your liver gets damaged, completely damaged. Consciousness gets messed up again also. But people think this is the goal of life. This is it. go to different bars or clubs and have opposite sex around them. What is it gonna? How is it gonna help? We will read the story of I'm forgetting his name. Wonderful king he was, and he got attracted to Urvashi, I believe. It will come in later cantos. And he did everything.
King Pururava.
King Pururava.
Pururava.
Yes. Yeah, Pururava. Thank you. Because I was thinking about Prithu. I said, no, it cannot be Prithu Maharaj. It was starts with P. So Pururava, he got attracted to Urvashi and he had a strong desire to have Urvashi at any cost. And this story goes on through few cantos actually. Not full canto, but the story ends here and then takes up again in next other cantos. So finally somehow he got that Apsara, Urvashi. And she put a condition to be with the king, that I should not see you naked at any time. So king, he was so infatuated, he agreed. And then Indra wanted Urvashi back in heavenly planets after some time. So he arranged somehow that Urvashi had few cattle, and Indra made some demigods go and steal those cattle, and in the middle of the night, and the king was sleeping with Urvashi. And Urvashi said, you rascal, you're sleeping here, go save my cattle, so save my, whatever, lambs. I think it was lambs. So king didn't think of anything. He just got up and just jumped through the window, and then he was naked, and Urvashi saw him naked, and Urvashi said, I have to go. Even that king, he could not stop Urvashi from going back. Means sense gratification. It never be satisfied, and we can never have it fully. So why bother? Why bother so much that we waste this precious human form of life? This form of life is, we guard it. It's rare, very rare, first of all. And then it is more rare to come in contact with devotional service. And then we have been given this golden chance by Srila Prabhupada, by mercy of Prabhupada, to make advancement. So let's spend more and more time in our hearing and chanting than nurturing that bhakti lata creeper instead of nurturing the desires for sense gratification. So we'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments? Yeah, wonderful instruction by Sanat Kumar actually. The whole philosophy is cleared up properly.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Beautiful verses are going on actually.
Yeah, this whole chapter is amazing. Amazing chapter.
And sorry for disturbing the class in between. Suddenly your voice got. I thought
that's okay. That's okay. It happens. Chalo, I guess we can stop here. You all have a wonderful and safe day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Jai Shri Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So much,
Hare
Prabhuji.